The Philadelphia Arena had hosted professional wrestling since just after its opening in 1929. The WWE today, though born in 1963 with Vince McMahon Sr. and former wrestler Joe Toots Mondt as the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, actually dates back 10 years earlier with Vince McMahon Jr.'s grandfather, Jess McMahon. Jess McMahon, a longtime successful boxing promoter, originally partnered with legendary former World Heavyweight Wrestling Champion Ed the Strangler Lewis and his manager, Billy Sando, called themselves the Goldust Trio. Their partnership ended. Jess McMahon remained partners with Toots Mondt, promoted wrestling out of Washington, D.C. and New York City, running shows in both the Capitol Sports Arena and Madison Square Gardens, calling their company Capitol Wrestling Corporation. January 23, 1960, the CWC, Capitol Wrestling Corporation, ran its first of only 2 shows in Philadelphia. Their initial show saw a very young Bruno Sammartino, who just debuted in 1959. Also on this card saw Killer Kowalski and the legendary inventor of flamboyance, Gorgeous George. A second show a year later on September 23, 1961, saw many more future legends appear, including Bob Orton Sr., the tag team of African-American wrestling legends Sailor Art Thomas and Sweet Daddy Siki. Also seen in this fall of 1961 show, another trend-setting wrestling legend, and the company's first champion to be, the original Nature Boy Buddy Rogers, wrestled another legend of the time, Antonio Argentino Rocca. The Capitol Wrestling Corporation was a member of the National Wrestling Alliance, but on January 24, 1963, Lou Thesz defeated NWA World Champion the Nature Boy Buddy Rogers in Toronto, Ontario, Canada in a 1-fall match rather than a regular 2 out of 3 falls match. This did not sit well with Northeastern wrestling promoters Joe Toots Mondt and Vincent J. McMahon. They expanded their current Capitol Wrestling Corporation and renamed it the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, as well as named Buddy Rogers their inaugural first WWWF World Champion. The newly rebranded WWWF debuted at the Philadelphia Arena February 23, 1963. The World Champion Buddy Rogers defended the title against Bobo Brazil. Also appearing on his rebranded inaugural show, Pedro Morales, Arnold Skolin, Irishman Pat Barrett, and Mr. Wrestling Tim Woods. The night of May 17, 1963, in New York City, saw a newcomer Italian strongman Bruno Sammartino take out the new WWWF World Champion Buddy Rogers via submission in 48 seconds. Bruno Sammartino, who debuted in Philadelphia not long ago in 1960, now the company's new champion, defended his newly won title against the Magnificent Maurice on the second WWWF show at the arena on June 8, 1963. Also appearing on this show, the Fabulous Kangaroos, Al Castillo and Roy Heffernan, whom worked 2 tag team matches. In the last match of the night, Johnny Barron won a match over Bobo Brazil by a countout. The Worldwide Wrestling Federation began running monthly shows at the Philadelphia Arena, re-establishing it as a major city for professional wrestling. According to the website WrestlingData.com, the Worldwide Wrestling Federation started television tapings at the Philadelphia Arena beginning in December 1968. There is no information on what televised wrestling program by name this would be. But according to the history of WWE.com, under its Worldwide Wrestling Federation television programs category, Championship Wrestling began taping and debuted in the Philadelphia Arena May 16, 1972. The only match listings show a mixed midget with managers tag team match, and the Worldwide Wrestling Federation World Tag Team Champions Baron Mikhail Cicluna and King Curtis Ikea defeat Chief Jay Strongbro and Sonny King. As mentioned before, the Philadelphia Arena would host the WWWF for many years to come, and initial host of wrestling television programming for many years and into the decades to come. As before, the decades ago, during the original National Wrestling Association years during the 1930s and 1940s, wrestling in Philadelphia saw its share of professional wrestling title changes. The WWWF wrestling TV program Championship Wrestling would see several new tag team champions crowned at the Philadelphia Arena. Baron Mikhail Cicluna and King Curtis Ikea in 1972 were the first to win the tag team titles in a Philadelphia Arena house show before TV tapings began. Mr. Fuji Masa Saito defeated tag team champions Chief Jay Strongbro and Sonny King in a June 1972 TV taping, becoming the first title change seen on WWWF TV programming. There have been fans over the years claiming to have seen or heard mention of WWWF Tag Team title changes dating back to the first Tag Team Champions in 1971 on TV programs. They would have had to have been 40 or more years older to have made this claim, but unless there's video or audio proof of this, I must go by website historical information. At least 9 WWWF Tag Team Championship title changes would take place during television tapings between 1972 to 1978. Wrestling fans at the original arena would only see one WWWF World title change hands. December 1st, 1971, Stan the Man Stasiak would upset Pedro Morales. Some years later, a magazine would cover this story, actually breaking kayfabe, stating Stasiak was informed moments before the match, while putting his boots on, that he would be winning the title that night. Stasiak would become labeled a transitional champion. Pedro Morales, taking the title from Russian Bear Ivankov 2.5 years earlier, was to please the Puerto Rican population of New York City. But attendance began to fall when 7.5 years former world champion Bruno Sammartino losing the title to Ivankov in 1971 was apparently unacceptable to the fans. The WWWF did not believe in booking good guys versus good guys, otherwise known as babyfaces, despite an hour-long match between Bruno and Pedro had already taken place. Bruno Sammartino would regain the World Championship from Stasiak 1 week later on December 10, 1973 in New York City. Stan Stasiak's title win over Pedro Morales was the first World Championship title change since 1938 in Philadelphia, which saw Jim the Greek Lundos defeat NFL legend and wrestler Bronco Nagurski for the New York State Athletic Association recognized World Championship. Another World Championship title change or crowning would not take place in Philadelphia until 1994. WWWF television tapings in the original Philadelphia arena saw many crazy, zany antics, wrestler promos, interviews, and historical confrontation. One legendary wrestler versus boxer took place in June 1976 between Gorilla Monsoon and former World Heavyweight Boxing Champion Muhammad Ali, which saw Monsoon pick up Ali into an airplane spin. Opening in 1929, the Philadelphia Arena hosted countless city events, sports of all kinds, and would include the illustrious history of professional wrestling. But all good things must come to an end. A new arena and stadiums were being built. The original arena was reaching 50 years old by the time the Worldwide Wrestling Federation shortened its name to WWF in 1979. The Philadelphia Spectrum at Broad and Patterson, which actually opened in 1967, did not begin hosting WWF shows until 1974. The arena, now at least 60 years old, had already lost most of its business to the Spectrum and was badly aging, was auctioned off and sold in 1980. A well-known city dentist, Larry Lavin, was talked to investing in the old arena. The building was renamed the Martin Luther King Arena. It hosted few, if any, sports or events, among them minor league basketball, which included a new local team, the Philadelphia Kings. But both the Philadelphia Spectrum and the Civic Center outdrew anything that could be booked or hosted at the old arena. On August 24, 1983, a multi-alarm fire destroyed the original Philadelphia Martin Luther King Arena, including residential homes that it was adjacent to. In a very bad money laundering and/or insurance scheme, owner Larry Lavin and business associate Mark Stewart hired a local resident, McCall Geddes, to set fire to the arena. Upon returning to work on this Philadelphia arena project, I learned of another name, James Horrible Holt, a member of the Pagans motorcycle gang who was stated in the Philadelphia Inquirer to have been hired to set the fire. That's strangely confusing. Owner Larry Lavin, only partially connected with the arson fire, was actually convicted of a multi-million-dollar cocaine distribution charge from his home and offices. After being torn down, newly constructed townhomes were built in its place. Also adjacent to the arena, in front actually, was the WFIL Channel 6 News and TV studio. WFIL later was renamed WPVI and eventually moved its news broadcast to City Line Avenue. On August 5, 1997, an historical marker was placed in front of where both the original WFIL TV studio and the original arena was located. The marker was more dedicated about the American Bandstand that originally debuted on WFIL in 1952.